Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our group presentation for annual report analysis. For construction, our group chose ZAIN Berhad, while information and communication technology (ICT), our group chose Time.com Berhad. My name is BALQIS binti ANUAR. I will represent my group members, which is that Muhammad AMIRUL, Muhammad ILMAN, Nur AQILAH, and also Nur Syahidah. Let's start with the business and economic literature review on industries, which is that there are two sectors. Firstly, construction as an economic activities. Secondly, the roles of ICT producing industries to economic growth. Here is the business nature of the construction company, ZAIN Berhad. ZAIN presently focuses on three core business segments, namely engineering and construction, asset and facilities management, and property and development. The highlighted construction projects are Suk Elevated Expressway Malaysia, Drawbridge Kuala Terengganu, and IIUM Gambang Campus. For information and communication technology ICT company business nature, Time.com Berhad is a fixed-line telecommunications provider that connects businesses and homes by harnessing the talents of the most capable people and the latest available technologies. Their core products are dedicated internet access, ensures that customers' business keeps running without any service downtime. They are running small business and enterprise products and services, which is fiber home broadband and fiber network solution services. Now, we will look into the comparative analysis of selected companies, which is that comprise similarities and differences in MFRS. In MFRS 2, which is that share-based payment for both of the company, unfortunately in the ZAIN Berhad annual report, there was no information about this MFRS. So we will be going to talk about the information of this MFRS as stated in the Times annual report. So the grounded fair value of share-based payment granted to employees is recognized as an employee expense. The amount recognized as an expense is adjusted to reflect the number of awards for which the related service and non-market vesting conditions are expected to be made, such that amount ultimately recognized as an expense is based on the number of awards that meet the related service and non-market performance conditions at the vesting date. For share-based payment award with non-vesting conditions, the grounded fair value of the share-based payment is measured to reflect such conditions, and there is no true-up for differences between expected and actual outcomes. In MFRS 119, employee benefits have several scope of benefits that have been covered in the standard, such as short-term employment benefits, post-employment benefit, other long-term benefits, and termination benefits. The difference from this company annual report is only time disclosed on termination benefit. While the similarities are both companies disclose on short-term employment benefits and post-employment benefits in the notes to financial statements. However, they do not disclose on long-term benefits. Next are MFRS 7, 9 and 132, which related to financial instrument. There are three similarities in the way of recorded under this MFRS between Time and ZAIN Berhad. One of them is, during the initial measurement, Time and ZAIN Berhad measure their financial asset and liability at fair value plus, and for an item not at fair value through profit or loss, transaction costs that are directly attributed to its acquisition or issuance of the financial asset. The differences between time and ZAIN Berhad, which is that time recognizes the financial asset and financial liability in the statements of financial position when and only when the group or the company becomes a party to the contractual provision of the instrument, while ZAIN Berhad recognizes the financial asset on trade date, the date on which the group commits to purchase or sell the asset. And time categorizes the financial asset are determined on initial recognition and not reclassified subsequent to their initial recognition. And ZAIN Berhad assess on a forward-looking basis the expected credit loss associated with its debt instrument carried at amortized cost. Lastly, in time, financial asset and financial liability or part of it derecognized when and only when the contractual right to the cash flow from the financial asset expire or are transferred, or control of the asset is not retained, or substantially all the risk and reward of ownership of the financial asset are transferred to another party. While in ZAIN Berhad, they derecognize the financial asset when the right to receive cash flow from the financial asset have expired or have been transferred and the group has transferred substantially all the risk and reward of ownership. These are the credit risk between the time and ZAIN Berhad in their annual report. Well, this is the liquidity risk exists in their annual report respectively. In MFRS 15, revenue from contract, the differences can be looked when ZAIN had disclosed desegregation of revenue while time does not disclose it. They also had disclosed on significant and changes in judgments made in applying their requirements to those contracts. The similarities both disclose revenue recognized from contract with customer. They disclose performance obligations. They had detailed the contract balance and also the asset recognized from the cost to obtain or fulfill a contract with the customer. Time and ZAIN do not disclose in the annual report. The differences in MFRS 16 list only time become a lessee while ZAIN not. Time had recognized right of the use asset and lease liability in the statement of financial position, while the similarities are both a lessor and the revenue had recognized in the statement of profit or loss. Next, they also start to adopt two amendments on MFRS 16, which is that COVID-19 related rent concessions. In both company annual report, there is corporate social reporting section, which is that in ZAIN Berhad not only prioritizes financial performance but also tries to fulfill its CSR reporting to local communities. While in time, since we are in pandemic COVID-19 era, Time.com Berhad had made contribution towards the community. One of the contribution is 10,000 ringgit worth of grad credits to medical frontliners as appreciation for their professionalism, dedication to duty and sacrifice in fighting COVID-19 pandemic. In environmental issues, ZAIN Berhad had listed the potential environmental impact from the operation, water pollution, depletion of resources, land contamination and the other rest. This is why they had their own strategies to take care of the environment by doing environmental monitoring, waste management and water management, as you can see in the table. For Time, it cares about the environmental issue with regard to energy consumption. Time continues to look for ways to reduce its environmental impact, which is largely related to energy use, especially in its data center operation. So, Time.com Berhad implemented following practices. Let's move on to the changing climates, which is that only ZAIN Berhad has stated in the annual report. Construction, building and other infrastructure cause tremendous environmental impact to flora and fauna, land use, materials and energy. So, ZAIN Berhad desire to prevent pollution, manage construction waste and conserve resources. In risk reporting ZAIN Berhad, they are implement an ERM Enterprise Risk Management Framework based on ISO International Standard of Risk Management. In 2020, these following processes carried out with management and the board considering these risk strategic outcomes, which is the economical, environmental and social. While in time, there are also risk management steering committee, which is that in charge of risk management. And in 2020, Time.com Berhad conducted various initiatives guided by ERM framework to reduce key risks, which is that operational, technological and cybersecurity threats. For summary from the findings of the comparative analysis, there are 7 MFRS from the previous discussion. By applying MFRS will lead to greater comparability of financial performance, followed by greater relevance, reliability and transparency of financial information of company. That's all from us. Thank you everyone.